So I have a moral quandary about this invitation to the Democrats to talk. Well, because there's two positions you could take, right? One is find the reasonable people and help them make their case, both within the party and to the public. And that would be predicated on the idea that it would be better to have a healthy two-party system, right? Where both parties were reasonable and moderate and sane, and they were functioning effectively as opposed forces.
In good faith.
In good faith, yes. But there's another viewpoint, which is tyrants have to burn before they learn, right? And like I've seen in 10 years of talking with Democrats, I've seen very little evidence whatsoever that, like all the Democrats I talked to, they didn't believe the radical left existed. For example, I don't think I talked to a single moderate Democrat who believed that there was a difference between equity and equality of opportunity. All the moderate, every single one of them, I swear this is true. I said, well, equity means equality of outcome, which is what Kamala Harris said it meant, which is what all the postmodernists
How do we
claim.
get there together?
Yeah, and but their response uniformly to a man and woman was, they don't mean that, they just mean equality of opportunity. Well, and that's, what's his name, that crazy billionaire who insists upon being a Democrat.
Jeff Bezos? I mean,
no. Bezos at least has admitted that the Washington Post has gone too far.
Thankfully.
The guy who owns the...
Mark Cuban.
Mark Cuban.
Mark Cuban who owns the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah. I mean, Mark insisted publicly on Twitter for like months that the whole idea that equity meant something different than equality of opportunity was a right-wing conspiracy. And I thought, is right. It's like, I don't know where you've been for the last 20 years, Mark, but this is not what's being taught in the universities. And then we have that problem too. It's like, are the Democrats going to sort themselves out? Well, there's a lot of their policy that they have to abandon. All this DEI nonsense has to go. Affirmative action probably has to go because it was the root of all the DEI nonsense, or at least one of them. I mean, the whole oppressor-oppressed narrative has to vanish. There has to be a radical turn back to something like appreciation for the free market. I mean, the Democrats are going to have to turn themselves back into classic liberals.
Luckily, there's a sledgehammer that's going to help them. It's called the Trump administration. Because the Trump administration, when I talked to Don Jr., one of the things John, the president's son, one of the things we talked about was like, President Trump did not surround himself with the best people last time.
Yeah.
And he said, we know that. Yeah. And also I said, I forget if he said it or I said it, there's not going to be the pressure this time because he's not going to seek re-election in 82. When he's at 82 years old. He's going to be a one-termer. So what does that mean? That means he's not going to have the pressure. He's not going to have that. Now, what is the purpose of his administration? He's going to want to get things accomplished for the American people. He is going to want to cement some sort of legacy for himself. He has the opportunity, which I could not have imagined if he even said 2 years ago, a year ago, the most consequential politician in American history outside Abraham Lincoln. That is an outrageous...
With the most consequential potential team.
Yes. Well, he does have people in place now that are going to potentially change with the medical industrial complex. The most that it's been since 1966. The last time there's been an upheaval in the medical, in the CDC and in the medical establishment was in the mid 60s. This has a chance to turn that on its head. And we must. I mean, one of the underpinnings, not just for free speech, but also for me, and I want to get back to talking about the other, why I think a lot of people in Hollywood were silenced.
Yes,
I do want to get to that.
Yes.
But one of the things for me personally was the fact that over 54%, and this is a 2012 statistic from the National Institutes of Health. I have a very good friend over there, Dr. David Klonoff. He's a great man, professor of medicine at University of San Francisco. 54% of Americans, children, now suffer from chronic illnesses that are unheard of a few short decades ago. Now the fact that is not the number one story in the newspaper and is not dealt with every day, or at least weekly. I mean, the fact that is just ignored and brushed under the rug is that is not a problem. That, to me, was untenable. I could not live with myself unless I was moving towards doing something about that. And if that cost me everything, I was willing to pay that price. Because this is something that can no longer, because I have young children. I mean, it's like, and my children, I try to do the best I can with them. I don't let them, I don't agree with the CDC's recommendations. I don't go along with that. And I do believe that what my research, which is the great Jimmy Dore, he said, like, they didn't want us to, don't do your own research during the pandemic. Research, you mean reading? You don't want us to read, to learn, to come up with our own ideas. And so from my reading, from my experience of talking to other parents, there is a real problem with our children that we have to get a handle on. And the fact that that was squelched, and the fact that the Democratic Party, who was in charge, and the Republicans too, they take as much from Big Pharma, we got to get a handle on that, or nothing else matters. When we have 80% of Americans, and why Bobby Kennedy, I supported him, that's why I knew his campaign was in trouble early, because I was his most famous celebrity endorser.
Yeah, that's definitely not a good thing.
I know. I said, Bobby, you got a problem. I'm going to still, we can do this together, you know. But the fact that we have most of Americans are unhealthy, and we're poisoned in America. We have to get that. Otherwise, nothing matters. It doesn't matter if Democrats or Republicans. It doesn't matter if the Democrats get back in, because we won't have money to pay for roads. We're not going to be able to pay for our infrastructure, for the schools. Whether the schools are woke or not, we won't have money for it. The system is crumbling. 17.5% of our GDP is now spent on health. We spent 5 times more than Europe per person on our health in America. And we're not getting that. We're not getting good results. If this doesn't change, nothing else matters. So this is a critical time for America, and we have the right people in there. We have, and Trump, to his great credit, because also, I mean, Robert Kennedy, as you know, he's a great man, and he would have worked with the Democrats. Yeah, they shunned him when he called Kamala Harris. He called the campaign; they wouldn't even return his phone call. When he called Trump, he was on the phone with Trump that day. Yeah. So you really have somebody who, for whatever reason, God put Donald Trump as his person.
Because God has a sense of humor. Seriously, man.
God has no problem working with people who are flawed. Yeah. God will work with, God has no problem with prostitutes. God will have no, it's like this person.
All the Old Testament prophets were deeply flawed.
Yeah, deeply
Every single
flawed,
one of them.
And corrupted in some way morally. Yeah. But this is the person that, it is a wonderful situation we find ourselves in. And it literally is I love that the Democrats are just befuddled and they're confused and they don't know what to do, because the line of attack didn't work. The new line of attack, they don't know what they can do because the other one didn't work. So what are they going to do? But in the meantime, we have an opportunity for the first time in my lifetime to actually look at the chronic disease of children, the chronic disease of people, and to try to heal it.